All right, guys, in today's video, we're going to be working on this 5.7 liter Vortec V8 on this 1998 Chevrolet Cheyenne. And the problem we're going to be dealing with today is a coolant leak. It's always something new when you have an old body style truck. And in this case, it's a leaky water pump. So let me give you a close shot of what's going on with the water pump, and then we'll change it out here pretty fast. All right, guys, I'm going to go down here with a mirror. See if I can zoom in and get you a shot of this leaking. There she goes. Right there. It's coming right out of the back of the water pump. So we're definitely going to have to pull that and replace it. All right, first step is getting the fan shroud off. We've got 3 10mm bolts on the front, and then we've got 2 down in here on either side. So we're going to pull those. As soon as we get those pulled off, we'll do the next step. All right, once you've got those bolts off the shroud, you can get your battery crossover cable out, and then this little clip here, take a pocket flathead, get him inside the little crevice between the two pieces, give him a little twist, and it'll open up. Now there's another very similar connector over here on the inboard side if you've got four-wheel drive. It's the same kind of deal. Although you're not going to be able to see from the camera because I got to get in here, but it's another little deal here where you get your screwdriver right on the top of this guy and pop him out. All right, with those out of the way, you can remove the shroud. Now with the shroud out of the way, the next thing we're going to have to remove is the fan. The easiest way to get the fan out is to use the factory tool. There's a lot of different tools you can rent from the store. There's even, you can put a strap wrench on. Sometimes you can just give it a good whack with a hammer. But the most reliable way I've found is to use the factory tool. So the service manual tool is a Kentmore 46406-1. And you've got a couple of little prongs here. And those prongs, if you take a look, are going to fit into holes in the water pump pulley back here, right? In the back of the fan, there's a pulley. All right, once you get this guy in there, a good tool for the nut is just a crescent wrench, sized accordingly. You can hold the pulley with this tool. Just a dead blow hammer a couple of times. We left our flashlight in there from when we were looking at the water pump leak. We've got this guy off now. We can just spin him off. Be careful when you do this that you don't hit the fan blades. They are plastic and they're close to 30 years old, right? In some cases. All right, there's your fan. Now, the next thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to get the serpentine belt off, just to get it out of the way so that we can pull the pump off. After that, we'll release this spring clamp that's on here, and then we just have the bolts to go. We got a spring clamp up here, not much left to it. All right, to get our belt off, we got a tensioner here. It's got a cutout that takes a 3/8" drive tool. We're going to put a breaker bar in here. We're going to move it to the left towards the passenger side. And we're going to be able to unhook the belt from the alternator and then let this guy go back. All right, it's a good time to inspect the belt, make sure it's good. As long as there's no cracks, you can reuse it. If there's cracks, you should replace it. Okay, so now we're going to get a tool to pull off the clamp here and the clamp here. All right, I'm going to be using an adjustable spring clamp tool. It's got like a remote reach on it. We're going to come down here. We're going to grab the main one first. give him a squeeze and work him off and let him sit right down there. And then we can also use this tool to grab this little one, I think. Be a tight fit, but yep. Put him up here. All right, so now we want to get a catch pan underneath. We're going to pull this pipe out first. We're going to get the coolant drained out into the catch pan. I don't bother with draining the radiator and stuff, guys. It's not necessary. Just let it run out from here so you can get the part swapped out. All right, guys, we're going to get this small hose first. I'm going to use a couple of PH200 pliers. They have like plastic jaws on them so they don't hurt the hose. Just want to get the adhesion loosened up here. Depending on how long it's been, it could be a lot or not a lot. This one looks like he's okay. I don't know that we'll be able to get him off all the way without getting the pump off, but I want to make sure he's loose. We'll see. Yeah, I guess we can get him off. Right, so you get a little bit of coolant from that. Not a lot, just a little bit. It'll be a chance to check your catch pan, make sure it's in the right spot. All right, now we'll go after this guy. Now that guy, we'll use a pick first, a hose pick, to make sure that we have no adhesion down here. Now as soon as you break the adhesion here, you're going to get some coolant coming out. That's normal. And again, good chance to make sure that your catch pan is in the right spot. Move ours just a little bit. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to let this run out. You guys can't really see it on this side, but right there you go. The coolant's going to run out there for a little while, let all that pressure out, and then we'll go ahead. All right, she's down to just a drizzle. I feel like we've got her opened up all the way around. A lot of what's drizzling is just drizzling off of the frame itself. So we should be able to pull this off now. You get a little bit more when that happens. We're going to try to keep this up like this, and you can see that's still full of coolant. Coolant costs money, so we don't necessarily want to have all this run out unnecessarily. So we'll try just to keep this right back there out of the way. We'll get a little bit more out of it, and we'll bungee this guy back there. All right, so there's still one more cooling line right by my pinky, and you're not going to be able to see it because it's idler pulley, but it runs down behind here, and we'll get that as we pull the pump off. But if you run the camera down in front of this, you can see that guy right there. And so we'll get him as we pull the pump off. All right, guys, now let's go after these 15mm bolts that are holding the water pump. We're going to break the torque with a breaker bar. It's definitely on there tight, 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 tight. As you take these off, you may get some coolant weeping on some of these too. That's okay. Just want to get them loosened up where we can use the ratchet to get them the rest of the way. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. There's one here. There's another one right below it. And again, I apologize, guys. There's just really no good way to get a camera view in here because you're coming in from this way, and if you put the camera down here, I can't work. But there's one here, and there's one right down below it, 15mm right there. So we're going to take those two off, and then I'll show you the two on the other side. All right, guys, before we take those two bolts off, I'm just going to put a rag over our hose just to keep any crud from falling into it because we're about ready to pull this guy. And then I've broken the torque on these next two bolts. They're right there, top and bottom. They're also 15s. So with the torque broke, we can pull all four of them out with the ratchet, electric ratchet. There's one. There's 2. We're going to pop over and get the 2 we started with over here. There's 3. And there's 4. You can see coolant's running out of that one. All right, now we can just break the gasket seal with the dead blow hammer, and we can get that last little hose up on top here. Okay. Our water pump is now free. Now we just got to get this guy. All right, we're going to go ahead and grab this little guy with a small clamp, small hose clamp plier. I'll block your view for most of this, I'm sorry. Now we need to get our PH200s again. And we'll have this guy off, and I'll show you what we're replacing him with. Try not to ring the bell here. It's definitely on there, really caked on. Worse than the other one was. These little ones, this is usually enough, but I might have to get in here with a pick. There we go. She's starting to move. Slowly but surely. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and get a pick, guys, because she's just on there really tight, adhesion-wise. All right. Let's get this in there. See if we can break her loose this way. There we go. Spent more time on this hose than we did the rest of the project. All right, I win. We take this guy out, and we can see where she was leaking all through here. All right, let me show you what we're going to replace it with. All right, guys, we're going to be replacing this with an AC Delco GM 8906-0527, and the AC Delco number is 251-719. All right, so this is basically a complete replacement, brand new for what we had. Thread protector comes off, so all we're going to have to do, we're going to transfer the pulley, remove these 4 10mm bolts, we're going to transfer the pulley onto this and remount it, and we're good to go. There's no core on this, unfortunately, so this guy goes to steel recycling. Don't throw them in the garbage. They can be recycled. Take them to your local municipal recycling center where they take steel. We'll torque these up after we get it remounted so that we have enough force to do so. All right, it also comes with a couple of new gaskets. 2 gaskets, part number 375-4587. Look that number up, that's the number that goes all the way back to the 50s. Of course, these are just small block Chevy V8s that haven't changed since then anyway. All right, so we're going to clean up the mating surface where these gaskets are going to go, and then we'll get this guy remounted, and I'll go over the torque values. All right, guys, let's take a look at the cleaning process, which is very important to prevent leaks. Now, right there, you see that blue paper towel's got some debris on it. When we pulled that pump out, there was some sand or something back there that fell down. It's exactly why you put something like that, so it doesn't end up in the coolant and end up circulating in the engine system. All right, so there's our old gasket, kind of a reddish-orange color. And then over on the right is where the other one has been cleaned, right? So you want to get both sides looking like that driver's side one. So I'm going to go ahead and get the passenger side cleaned up. We'll clean up some of this dirt off the harmonic balancer and the main crankshaft pulley just to get it out of the way, and then we'll remount our new pump. All right, the tools I'm using to clean this up, nothing special. Got an old Craftsman gasket scraper with a beveled edge, right? You can get these from other companies now, but this has served me well for many years. And then I've got a Lyle carbide scraper. This makes quick work of really hard, baked-on, brittle gasket pieces that this guy can't chip off. This guy will take them off. This is good for steel. I wouldn't use something like this on aluminum heads, but on the steel block that we're working on now, or rather the steel heads, this is fine. All right, something else you're going to want to do, folks, is you're going to want to wire wheel these bolts so that we can put some new waterproof sealant on them. All right, guys, a quick check of the manual, the service manual from GM. One of the things we're going to want to do is apply sealant GM part number 1234604 onto the threads of the bolts. That would be this pipe sealant with PTFE here, 1234604. Now, this is an older package. It's been discontinued. The current one, and I'll put a link in the description, is 193-33512. But the key is these bolts protrude into the water jacket of the cylinder head, so you've got to coat them or you'll have leaks. Got to have new water pump gaskets. Your new AC Delco pump will come with that. If you're using something else, you make sure you replace the water pump gaskets. We're going to torque those 4 15mm bolts to 33 foot-pounds. Then we're going to put our clamps back on. Here you can see the 41240 is an older number for that tool I used, but we're going to put these 10mm pulley bolts on to 18 foot-pounds, and that's going to complete our torque values. We'll get all of our snap rings and hoses back on. I'll show you mounting the pump, and then we'll take a look at it after everything's done. All right, guys, we're going to put our top bolts in on either side. I'm going to take our thread sealant. And we're going to get that worked up all around the threads that are going to be protruding into the water jacket. Obviously, we don't need it on the threads that are sitting inside the pump, because that's not going anywhere. And besides, whatever we put down here is going to work its way up the threads if necessary. All right. Our gaskets are going to go down with the 2 holes facing downward. These 2 on the bottom, 1 on top. So we'll go ahead and get 1 on each side. And then we'll worry about lining it up later. All right, guys, so at this stage we're going to want to make sure that the gasket is lined up, so you can reach your finger back behind here. You can make sure that the gasket's in the right place before you run the next bolt through. Similarly on this side. Now we can take our blue paper towel out of the way. We don't need to protect this hose anymore. Run it up until it stops at this little nub that you see right there. There's another one on the inside, so make sure that you've got it in that way, in that place on both. We got this hose and this hose in because they were preventing us from getting the pump up where we needed to get to. Now we'll go ahead and torque things up the way we saw in the service manual, and we'll put our pulley back on, and we'll put our serpentine bolt back on, and come back. All right, guys, we're just wrapping up the final pieces here. 18 foot-pounds on these 10 millimeters that hold the pulley, 33 on the 415s to secure the water pump, 1, 2 that you can't see under here, 3 spring clamps that you've got to get. You can take your thread protector off, wash it off with the hose to get any residual coolant so you can spot new leaks, and also all the debris, wash all that off really good. We've done that. We're ready to put the fan and the fan shroud back on, start it up, and check for leaks. At this point, we're effectively done. You're going to top it off with Dexcool in the radiator until you get all the air out of it, and then you're just going to watch it for leaks for the first few days after that. You know, it is possible that, you know, new parts can have problems. It's also possible if you made a mistake with the gasket that you'll end up with a leak back there, or you didn't get these spring clamps where they go. So just watch for that kind of thing. If you got questions, go ahead and leave a comment below and I'll try to help. If you found this useful, it helped save you some money and helped show you how you can do this yourself, hit that like button. I'd really appreciate it. And as always, thanks for watching.